Hello, welcome to Quiz Time. I'm Jess and today I've got 100 questions on the 1950s plus your chance to get involved in the debate. So let's get into it. Which American singer performs the hit song Whole Lotta Shaking Going On? Jerry Lee Lewis, Roy Orbison or Little Richard? Jerry Lee Lewis. What famous hotel and casino brand was built in Vegas in the early 1950s? The Atlantis, the Seminole or the Sands? It was the Sands. Where did the political movement called the Defiance Campaign happen? Africa, Asia or North America? It was Africa. In what year did the first Champions Cup of Europe happen? 1953, 1958 or 1955? 1955. Which foreign army was forced out of Vietnam in 1954? The French, the Americans or the British? It's the French. What famous children's book did Dr. Seuss write in 1957? Little Prince, The Cat in the Hat or Matilda? It was The Cat in the Hat. In 1955, which Italian ship faced one of history's major civilian disasters? Leonardo da Vinci, SS Petrarca or SS Andrea Doria? SS Andrea Doria. In 1958, Isola Curry tried to assassinate which historical figure? Fidel Castro, Martin Luther King Jr. or John F. Kennedy? Martin Luther King Jr. Which country stopped the creation of the European political community? The United States, Turkey or France? It was France. The NFL legend Raymond Barry was drafted by which franchise in 1954? Baltimore Colts, New York Giants or Chicago Bears? It was the Baltimore Colts. Who directed the 1957 war movie Paths of Glory that featured Kirk Douglas as one of the main characters? Stanley Kubrick. What legendary sports venue was completed in June 16, 1950? Maracana Stadium, Yankee Stadium or Ascot Racecourse? Maracana Stadium. Simon Rhee is remembered in history as the founder of the Pacific Union, the Republic of Korea or the Kingdom of Nepal? The Republic of Korea. No-Cal, invented in 1952, was what type of product? The first diet soda, the first vegan burger or the first synthetic fibre? It was the first diet soda. During the Cuban Civil War, who was Fidel Castro's main opponent? Augusto Pinochet, Rafael Trujillo or Fulgencio Batista? Fulgencio Batista. What was the real name of the famed American musician Buddy Holly? Michael Ward, Charles Hardin or Thomas Stanford? Charles Hardin. Which product entered the market under the name Eastman 910 in 1958? Superglue, Mr. Clean or Dyson? Superglue. In which Caribbean country Ernest Hemingway spent the 1950s? Jamaica, Cuba or Puerto Rico? It was Cuba. Which statesman was a target of Stalin's assassination plot in the early 1950s? Josip Broz Tito, Mao Zedong or Charles de Gaulle? Josip Broz Tito. Who won the first FIBA World Championship in 1950 by defeating the US in the final? Spain, Yugoslavia or Argentina? It was Argentina. Led by Adnan Menderes, which Muslim country joined the NATO in 1952? Saudi Arabia, Turkey or Egypt? It was Turkey. Which of these artistic movements was popular in the US during the 1950s? Abstract Impressionism, Post-Minimalism or Neo-Expressionism? Abstract Expressionism. Which American general acted as the overseer of Japan in the early 1950s? Dwight Eisenhower, Omar Nelson Bradley or Douglas MacArthur? Douglas MacArthur. Juan Kinocuma, the former Prime Minister of the Gold Coast, deposed which colonial government in 1957? The French, British or Spanish? British. After securing independence, Kwame Nkrumah founded which modern country? Ghana, Kenya or Nigeria? It was Ghana. Founded in Wichita in 1958, this restaurant chain has an Italian speciality in its name. What is it? Pizza Hut. Which of these ladies was famous for her pin-up photos during the 1950s? Kim Novak, Betty Page or Doris Day? It was Betty Page. In 1954, Akira Kurosawa directed which famous blockbuster? Ran, Kagemusha or Seven Samurai? Seven Samurai. True or false? Faisal II is known as the last monarch of Iran, deposed after a revolution in 1958. It's false. Faisal II was the last king of Iraq. What famous mathematician and philosopher won the Nobel Prize in 1950? Bertrand Russell, Alan Turing or Simone de Beauvoir? Bertrand Russell. Giuseppe Di Stefano, widely known during the 50s, was a famous Italian football player, opera singer or political figure. He was an opera singer. Which of these actors portrayed Superman in the popular TV show of the 1950s? George Reeves, Ricky Nelson or Tab Hunter? George Reeves. In which NBA team did George Mikan spend the 1950s as a player and coach? Boston Celtics, Minneapolis Lakers or Syracuse Nationals? Minneapolis Lakers. The The annexation of Dadra and Nagar Haveli was a major dispute between Pakistan and India, the UK and Indonesia, or India and Portugal. India and Portugal. Fred Astaire and Audrey Hepburn starred together in which of these movies? Daddy Longlegs, Funny Face, or Roman Holiday? It was Funny Face. Which musician had a breakthrough in 1956 with the hit song Ooby Dooby? Little Richard, Hank Williams, or Roy Orbison? Roy Orbison. Ernesto Guevara's nickname Che in a local Argentinian slang means what? Friend, boss, or fighter? Friend. Which of these foods was extremely popular during the 1950s? Push pop candy, Salisbury steak, or McDonald's Quarter Pounder? Salisbury steak. Which fighter jet was used by the US for the most of the 1950s? The Rockwell XV-12, Hawker Hurricane, or the Lockheed F-104 Starfighter? The Lockheed F-104 Starfighter. Who performs the iconic 1959 song called Strange Fruit? Ray Charles, Billie Holiday, or Nina Simone? Billie Holiday. The notorious Rosenberg couple, executed in 1953, was sentenced for what crime? Manslaughter, human trafficking, or espionage? It was espionage. When did Winston Churchill's second term as UK Prime Minister conclude? 1959, 1955, or 1950? 1955. In which Scandinavian city was the Winter Olympics of 1952 held? Oslo, Helsinki, or Stockholm? It was Oslo. Which of these cultural venues was completed in 1959? Guggenheim Museum, Hermitage St Petersburg, or National Gallery in London? It was the Guggenheim Museum in New York. Which among these nations remained under European control through the entire 1950s? French Tunisia, Spanish Guinea, or Italian Libya? Spanish Guinea. In the 1950s, during his first term on the throne, Nodrom Sihanouk ruled which Asian country? Vietnam, Malaysia, or Cambodia? It was Cambodia. Which region of the USSR was hit by a devastating tsunami in 1952? Kamchatka, Yukatia, or Arkhangelsk? Kamchatka. Which European actor earned fame as the lead role in the movie Christine in 1958? Alain Delon, Peter Sellers, or Marcello Mastroianni? Alain Delon. Which famous American painter created the masterpiece Saying Grace? Mark Rothko, Mary Lee Abbott, or Norman Rockwell? Norman Rockwell. What martial art had a first official tournament in Tokyo in 1957? Karate, Aikido, or Taekwondo? Karate. What company owned the company that introduced the Diners Club card in the 1950s? Discover Financial Services, American Express or MasterCard? It was Discover Financial Services. Which of the following children's TV shows was popular during the 50s? Sesame Street, The Howdy Doody Show or Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood? The Howdy Doody Show. What major event occurred on July 27, 1953, effectively ending the Korean War? The Geneva Accords, the Battle of Inchinend or the Armistice Agreement? The Armistice Agreement. On which network did the TV show I Love Lucy premiere in 1951? ABC, CBS or NBC? It was CBS. Which landmark Supreme Court case in 1954 declared racial segregation in public schools unconstitutional? Brown v. Board of Education, Roe v. Wade or Miranda v. Arizona? Brown v. Board of Education. Who wrote the novel Fahrenheit 451, which was published in 1953? Ray Bradbury, George Orwell or Aldous Huxley? Ray Bradbury. True or false? Rocky Marciano retired in 1956 with only one defeat in his boxing career. It was false. He retired as the only undefeated heavyweight champion of the world. Which film actress starred in Gentlemen Prefer Blondes and Some Like It Hot during the 1950s? Marilyn Monroe, Audrey Hepburn or Grace Kelly? Marilyn Monroe. What is the name of the sports car introduced by Chevrolet in the 1950s? Thunderbird, Mustang or Corvette? It's Corvette. What famous rock and roll musician music career took off in the 1950s? Elvis Presley, Michael Jackson or Bob Marley? It was Elvis Presley, of course. What African country gained independence from colonial rule in 1957? Nigeria, Ghana or Kenya? It was Ghana. Which new style of music that combined rhythm and blues with country music appeared in the 1950s? Rockabilly, swing or jazz? It was rockabilly. Who was the host of the TV show American Bandstand? Ed Sullivan, Dick Clark or Johnny Carson? Dick Clark. No multiple choice. What was the name of the first artificial satellite launched into space by the Soviet Union in 1957? It was Sputnik 1. Did you remember that one? When was the first polio vaccine developed? 1953, 1955 or 1957? 1953. Which of these Mahalia Jackson's songs was released in the 1950s? Jesus Is With Me, He's Right on Time or Didn't It Rain? Didn't It Rain? What is the predecessor of McDonald's Corp that opened its first restaurant in 1955? McDonald's System, McDonald's Barbecue or McDonald's Fast Food? McDonald's System Inc. True or false? The Warsaw Pact was established in 1955 to counterbalance the power of NATO. It's true. What SU weapon was tested successfully in 1953 and marked the beginning of the nuclear arms race? Intercontinental ballistic missile, hydrogen bomb, or atomic bomb? It was the hydrogen bomb. Which African-American artist is known for his distinctive voice and hits like Tutti Frutti, Little Richard, Chuck Berry, or Fats Domino? Little Richard. There was the Tolman Man, a mummified body from the 4th century found in 1950. Where was it found? Austria, Belgium, or Denmark? Denmark. Who was the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom during most of the 50s? Harold Macmillan, Winston Churchill, or Clement Attlee? Winston Churchill. No multiple choice. What was the term used to describe the period of heightened political tension between the US and the SU during the 1950s? It was the Cold War. Which country hosted the 1950 Grand Prix? Monaco, England, or Germany? It was England. Who directed the 1956 epic film The Ten Commandments? Alfred Hitchcock, Cecil B. DeMille, or Frank Capra? Cecil B. DeMille. When was the start date of the golden age of capitalism? 1950, 1952, or 1955? 1950. How many seasons did the Lone Ranger TV series have? 8, 5, or 6? It was 5. True or false? Pop art started in the 1950s. It's true. Which prince did Grace Kelly get married to? Prince Charles, Prince Rainier III, or Prince Philip? It was Prince Rainier III. Which nation hosted the Summer Olympics for the first time in the Southern Hemisphere in 1956? South Africa, Brazil, or Australia? Australia. Which report was presented to President Truman in 1950 about how to approach the Cold War? NSC 68 Marshall Plan or Truman Doctrine? It was the NSC 68. Who was the Prime Minister of Canada during the majority of the 1950s? John Diefenbaker, Louis St. Laurent, or William Lyon? Louis St. Laurent. Who played the role of Alan Quatermain in the 1950 movie King Solomon's Mines? Lowell Gilmore, Richard Carlson, or Stuart Granger? Stuart Granger. What is the meaning of the 1950s slang word ankle biter? A small child, deceptive talk, or a stylish person? It was a small child. What was Elvis Presley's first hit? Heartbreak Hotel, That's Alright, or Hound Dog? That's Alright. Which country won the first Eurovision Song Contest? Switzerland, France, or Germany? It was Switzerland. No multiple choice. What was the term used to describe the intense fear of communism and communist influence in the US during the 1950s? Red Scare. At which age did soccer star Pelé join Brazil's Santos team? 15, 14, or 17? 15. Out of the 23 people who died in the 1958 Munich air disaster, how many were members of the Manchester United team? 6, 12, or 8? 8. The United Arab Republic was a political union from 1958 between which two countries? Syria and Iraq, Egypt and Syria, or Lebanon and Syria? It was Egypt and Syria. What critically acclaimed novel by Vladimir Nabokov was published in English in 1955? War and Peace, Anna Karenina, or Lolita? Lolita. Which primary figure out of Beat Movement wrote the book On the Road? Jack Kerouac, Allen Ginsberg, or Herbert Hunckel? Jack Kerouac. True or false? The construction of the Sydney Opera House started in the 1950s. It's true. Which of these organisations was not founded in the 1950s? SCLC, Pizza Hut, or WHO? WHO. Where did the first CND march take place? London to Aldermaston, Glasgow to Edinburgh, or London to Oxford? London to Aldermaston. St Lawrence Seaway is between which two countries? France and Spain, United States and Canada, or United Kingdom and Ireland? United States and Canada. True or false? The World's Fair Expo 58 began in April 58 in Belgium. It was true. Which brand of potato chip was known in the 1950s for its distinctive ridge texture and strong flavours? Pringles, Ruffles, or Lay's? It was Ruffles. What is the last musical from Rodgers and Hammerstein that opened on Broadway in 1959? South Pacific, Sound of Music, or Oklahoma? The Sound of Music. No question for number 100. Let's debate. Was the 1950s a time of economic stability, or did it sow the seeds of future economic problems? What do you think? Let us know in the comments below, and of course let us know your score, and like and subscribe so you get notified every time we post a new quiz. And join us next time on Quiz Time.